Welcome back to my channel. In today's video I will show you how to sew this trendy BuBu design. This neck design has been trending and this is the simplest method that you can make it. If you are a beginner, watch till the end of the video. It's Lena Fashion Hub. It's Lena Fashion Hub again. I'll be making use of 3 yards of Ankara print, 3 yards of pure cotton Ankara print, and my other sewing tools, my scissors and my ruler. Then the blue fabric, it's a crepe material. I'm just going to make use of 1/2 yard because all that we need is just for the design, the BuBu design in front of the clothes. Okay, so I already went ahead to fold my fabric. I folded it into 2, then I folded it into 2 again. I'm just going to use this paper and demonstrate to us how I did that. So I folded it into 2 and then I folded it into 2 again. Please, when you are doing yours, if you're a beginner, you have to be very careful about this. Then from that point is 20 from the edge of the fabric. After the folding, I had just 20 inches there. So you will determine what you use in knowing how much you have here will be your client's BuBu sleeve length. If you didn't take the BuBu sleeve length, you can just use shoulder divide by 2 plus the sleeve length. Okay, then for the length of the BuBu, I use the exact length of the Ankara fabric, which is usually 45 inches. So I first of all came down by 1.5 inches for my slope. Then from the point of the slope, I came down by 11 inches. That will be the wideness of the sleeves. Okay, feel free to make it wider, but 11 inches is usually okay for most body sizes. For the neckline, I marked 4 inch for the neck width, then 1 inch for the back neck depth, and 7 inches for the front neck depth. Remember, we are folding this into 4. That means the front and the back is together. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and curve out my neckline design like so. The back neckline is curved, then the front neckline is a V neckline. So you can use your ruler so that you can bring that out accurately. Okay, so for the body of the BuBu, this is not going to be a very big BuBu, it's just moderate. So I'm doing the person's hip measurement divide by 4, which is 10.5 inches, and I'm adding 3.5 inch for ease. And this 3.5 inch is including my sewing allowance is inclusive. So I'm going to go say that again. I did the hip measurement divide by 4 plus 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a straight line. You can use your ruler. I'll draw a straight line all the way down to where I have my sleeves. I'm drawing a straight line all the way down. It's a straight BuBu. There is no other curve. There is no other design. As I said, it's a very simple BuBu and you can achieve this in minutes. Okay, so that is the sleeve length where we marked our 11 inches. So from the sleeve itself, of course, there is no part of the human body that is this sharp. As you can see, that point is very sharp. So I'm just going to go ahead and give a very gentle curve. So from that edge, you can just come out by 1 inch, then use that to do your sleeve, your armhole cuff. Okay, then from the slope that we came down by 1.5 inch, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a straight line that connects it back to the neckline design. So at this point, we are done marking our BuBu. You see that this was very simple and very straightforward. If you're a beginner, please take your time and do it accurately. So I'm just showing us that our neck depth for the front was a V neckline. Okay, then for the side, I'm just showing us the straight line that I draw all the way down, and that is all. And I did 10.5 inch, that is the hip divide by 4 plus 3.5 inch ease to bring out the BuBu itself. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and cut. Please, when you are cutting, do not cut through your front neckline. Cut only your back neckline. Remember, is four unfold, meaning your front and your back part is all together. So if you cut it with the front neckline, hey, it's going to be very deep for the back, right? So we'll just use the back neckline to cut it. So go through and cut through the line exactly as you see me doing. You cut through the line. So at this point, when I was done, I'm going to cut out the front neckline. But before I do that, before I separate the material to cut the front, I'm going to notch where our pocket will start. So the pocket, usually your pocket can start from the half length, which is 17 inches for this client. So whatever, or basically anybody can use 17 inches to start from, for where their pocket will start. Okay, so I gave a gentle notch at that point so that I know that is where I will start fixing my pocket. So at this point, I just went ahead to separate the material. But before I do that, because the front and the back print look similar, I just have to mark the back print, okay? So the back part of the cloth. So this is where I'm arranging everything together so that I will cut through the front V neckline, okay? So after cutting through the front V neckline, the next step that we are going to do now will be, I'm just going to go ahead and keep this aside. So we'll cut our pocket. So for the pocket, I just use the remaining pieces of the fabric to cut this. The pocket depth will be 11 inches and the width will be 8 inches. And as you can see, I folded it into two. I folded it into two and folded it into two again. That is into four, because we are going to have 4 pieces of the pocket. So I just noticed that it wasn't up to the 8 inches I wanted. So I went ahead to fold it again properly to give me the exact measurement that I needed for the pocket. 8 inches by 11 inches or 12 inches is usually okay for most body sizes, except the person is a very plus size, okay? So I just went ahead and cut, no rocket science, just your width measurements and the depth, and you are fine. Okay, then for the pockets, you can go ahead and add a cuff at one edge of the pocket, right? So that you know that that part of the pocket is facing a particular direction. I'm going to explain that when we are fixing the pocket, what I mean by the pocket facing a particular direction. So watch till the end of the video. Okay, so at this point, I just went in to, because the pockets are 4 pieces, as I said, I'm just going to separate it at this point to make it into 4 pieces. Guys, this is the simplest way to cut your pocket and the simplest form of pocket when you are fixing it on your BuBu gown. Okay, to fix it is very straightforward and it's very simple. So I just use my chalk to mark the back of the fabric, because I wouldn't want to use the back for some parts and use the front for some parts, if you know what that means. So this point, this is the crepe fabric I'm using for the front BuBu design, the design in front. So I just went ahead and folded into 2. I don't want it, the client asked that the BuBu design in front will be a bit bigger than the picture you saw on the thumbnail. Okay, so at this point you can measure, you can play around with this. You can play around with how big you want the design to be in front. Okay, so I went ahead to reduce the fabric because it felt like, it looked like it was too big. So I placed it. I placed the center of my Ankara to match each other. Then I want it to come into the shoulder by 5.5 inches. Okay, so everything I had there, I just measured it to be very sure that I have the exact measurement I wanted. So the depth, you see that I have a line there before, because I used 18 inches as the length of the fabric, and I noticed it would be too short, it wouldn't be as long as I wanted because the sewing allowance is still in it. So I used 19 inches as the length. Okay, I used 19 inches as the length. So from the shoulder part, from the shoulder part, the fabric is just going to come in at the shoulder part. I'm going to measure that for us to see. This point I'm just arranging the material to be sure it's well laid exactly the way it should be. If you're a beginner, take your time in doing this so that you have it as accurate as it should be. So I went ahead to cut the crepe material following the exact neckline of my Ankara BuBu gown, okay, because the design is going to sit on the neckline, so they have to match each other. Okay, so after cutting there, the next step, I cut through my shoulder part. I cut through the shoulder part to the extent I wanted it to be. Remember, I said the extension at the shoulder side is 5.5. For the sake of this video, that is what I am making use of, right? So I'm just going to cut at the down part. That part is 5.5 where I just point now. So here I just confirmed to be sure that my measurements were accurate before I went ahead to cut through the length, which was, I'm using 19 inches as the length. If you want it to be shorter, you can reduce the measurement. If you want it to be longer, you can increase the measurement. But for the purpose of this video, I used 19 inches as the length of the design in front, okay? So after cutting it, I just use my hand. What I'm doing now is very, very necessary. I'm using my hand to relax the center of the BuBu to form a line because I need to know the middle of the clothes, okay? You can as well use your iron to do this, but most times Ankara fabrics are very flexible. So I went ahead to iron my paper stay, my thick paper stay, and also you can see I ironed out the center line. Please, this is very, very important, so that when you are placing it, you make sure that the center line, they match each other, right? So that your design will not, be swinging to the left or swinging to the right. So this is the point. I was just matching everything together and make sure it sits properly. But what I noticed is at the other part, the neckline was too big on one side. So after aligning it properly, I just went ahead to use my tape to confirm whether what I'm having on the two sides were the same thing, because sometimes after ironing fabric, sometimes you have more. So one part was a little more, so I just went ahead to trim off that part, okay, just to have the exact measurement on the two sides. So after ironing, I had 6 inches. That is still fine. We are cutting 5.5. After ironing, I had 6 inches. It's understandable because this is a stretchy fabric, and sometimes crepe, they can stretch around. That is why I had to iron paper stay on it to make it more stable. So I just went ahead to look at the neck design so that we can create it here. So to create the neck design, I came up on that part, the down part. Sorry guys, I didn't know that part of my camera was not videoing. So I came up by 2.5 inch. I came up first by 2 inches. I tried to connect the lines, but it looked like the 2 inch was not enough. So I ended up using 2.5 inch. So I'm going to mark the same thing on the other side, okay? Please don't mind the freehand. We'll still use our ruler to draw out the line properly, okay? So looking at the neckline design, at that point I used 2.5 inches, though I later corrected it to 3 inches, okay, because I needed half inches to use and fold it, right? So just follow what I'm doing. From the V neckline, from where the line stops, from the V neckline where the neckline stops, I just draw a straight line all the way out. Then I now measure the 2.5 inches, which I later corrected to 3 inches, and form a straight line. All right. So I still noticed from the style I had to go down by 1 inch because it's a little bit slanting a little bit downward. So I went down by 1 inch and I formed that V line that we are seeing there. So at this point I was trying to use my ruler to straighten out the lines so that it's accurate on the both ends. Okay, if your freehand was okay, you can go ahead and leave it that way. All right, so at this point I just went ahead and cut through the line. The same thing I did on this part that is on the video is the exact same thing I did on the other part. There was no changes. Okay, so but this part, this other neckline from the style, you can see that this other shoulder was normal, right? Is the cutting is from this side. So this is the part that I added the half inches to make it 3 inches, because I realized I'll be needing half inches to turn it by that side, and what I used was not going to be enough, so I used 3 inches instead. So I just went ahead and cut through. You can do exactly what I'm doing to achieve the same result. Okay, so I cut through that part, then I cut it down from the 1 inch that I came down from at that point that I'm cutting right now. I don't know if that makes sense. Please watch the video carefully so that you understand everything I'm saying. Voila, our design, our neckline design is ready. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it at every point like so. Before I folded that point, I notched that V point. Okay, notch that V point design, then fold every part with your iron gently. Fold every part like as you see me doing. Just keep folding every single part with your iron. Okay, so fold it properly with your iron. Before you fold the part that has the V part, notch the V part before folding it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fold that, then come back and show us how it looked like. But before we go there, right, before we go to the work table, let me show us how we are going to fix our pocket. I'm sorry, I didn't know this part of the camera is not showing. But from that part that we notch, if you can remember that part that we notch, you are placing your pocket at that point that we notch, the 17 inches half length that we notch. That is where your pocket will start from. So you just place it there. The cuff part will be facing up. If the cuff part is facing up, make sure that all points that the cuff part is facing up, and just sew it down. Okay, so when I was done turning it with iron, to make this to stay properly and at a place, we used our hemming gum. So that point that have V, remember I told us to notch that point before folding it. So I just notch it gently before folding it. And now when I'm placing it back to the fabric, I make sure that the V of the neckline design aligns to that line in the fabric that I told us is very important, that we have that middle point line. So I'm going to use this hemming gum. I'll just stuff it under the design, then use my iron and iron it. As much as you want to stuff it around, just stuff it around under it. Then use your steaming iron, or if you have your normal iron, you make sure you sprinkle water and iron it for it to gum to the Ankara print. Okay, then that pocket, I'm just showing us what I fixed in that pocket. Just place that pocket on the fabric starting from the notch, and now sew it along with a straight line with half inches. Then the cuff part of the pocket is facing up. I did the same to the other side of the pocket and to the back or panel of the clothes. I did the same thing. Okay, so at this point, we just go ahead and cut our neckline facing. Before you cut your facing and before you turn it with your facing, make sure you sew down this neckline with sew it down with a straight line. I'm going to explain that later, please. Let's just continue with the cutting of the facing. So gently arrange your fabric under the neckline. Gently arrange your fabric under. So when I was arranging, I noticed that one part is longer. That's the crepe material. So I'll just go ahead and trim it off. Nothing too serious, right? Just go ahead and trim it off. If you notice any part is longer than any part, just trim it for it to align. So after arranging it, I went ahead and I measured it. Make sure it goes down. Whatever material that you are putting there, make sure you have some excess after the neckline. I'm going to show us why we need that excess below, right? So I just cut through following the exact neck design. Cut through following the exact neck design, because we are going to use it to turn the neck, right? So I'll go down from the neck design, from the neck width. I'm just going to extend that facing with 3 inches. Okay, I'm going to extend it with 3 inches. Then I went ahead to cuff. So this is why I said it should go down, this point that it came down. So let it come down from the neck design by 3 to 3.5 inches, and at the shoulder side, let it be at least 3.5 inches there. Okay, so I'm going to cut through to make sure, just do the exact same thing I'm doing to make sure we have the same thing on both sides. So that is our front neck facing. So for the back neck facing, I'll fold the material into 2, because I'm folding the back fabric, the back cloth, the back panel, whatever you understand that with, into 2 as well. Okay, so I'm putting it on the on top of the material I'm using for the facing, making sure that the center part matches each other. Please, this is very, very important to make sure that the center part matches each other. Okay, so it's unfold, then you cut through with the back neckline. So when cutting through at the shoulder point, make sure that the same width you had on your front facing is the same thing you are going to have on the back facing. So this is me confirming what I had on my front facing. So the front facing, I had 3.5 inch. So I just went ahead and measured it and make sure that I'm going to have the exact same thing at the back, okay, to give it a good finish when I was done. Okay, so that same thing, I just had to confirm it again to be sure that that was accurate. Nothing serious, just go ahead and curve out your neckline facing as you see me doing. Okay, so after cutting the facing, the next thing to do now, after gently cutting the facing, you bring in your back panel and you put the facing on top of it, right side facing each other, and you sew following the curve, and you sew with 1/2 inch. After joining with 1/2 inch, go ahead and top stitch. So I'm just going to run a straight line on that line you see me touching. Run a straight line to secure the design on the front panel before you turn your neckline facing. Run your line to secure it before you turn your neckline facing. After turning your neckline facing, go ahead to notch and top stitch. Okay, so after turning my neckline facing, this is what I had. After turning the neckline facing, this is what I had. I also went ahead to top stitch after notching. Okay, so I want to show us how I joined my 2 shoulders together. So I also went ahead to sew that line I told us to secure the design on the front panel. So I'm going to put my back shoulder and my front shoulder together like so, but I will use the back facing to cover both the front and the back together. Please, I'm going to repeat that so that we can get that correctly. Okay, so we are going to sew 4 of them with a straight line. We join it with 1/2 inches. We are going to sew all of them. So this is what I did. I put my back panel on top of my front panel, the shoulder part. Then I switch my facing to close both the front and the back panel. Then I'll now sew with a straight line. So that is how we are going to join it, so that that joining line will not show at the shoulder. So when you are done joining, please turn your armhole, your sleeve with 1/2 inch in and 1/2 inch in. Turn your sleeve 1/2 inch in and 1/2 inch in when you are done your sleeves. Then for the down part, you are going to also fold it 1/2 inch in, 1/2 inch in. That's the next thing you are doing. You fold your down part 1/2 inch in, 1/2 inch in. Then you go ahead and join the 2 sides together. So at the side, you join the front and the back panel together using 0.75 inch. When you get to the pocket, we have a lot of videos on how we did this. Just pass from the pocket and then remain 11 inches at the down part for your side slit. We have come to the end of this tutorial. If this was helpful, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Bye.